Welcome to another episode of the Caroline Glick Show. We're taping this show on Wednesday morning, and last night the Israeli government made a decision to do a hostage for terrorist swap with Hamas that includes as well at least a 4-day ceasefire, including 6 hours a day that the IDF has agreed not to fly over Gaza with drones, so no surveillance for 6 hours a day as well. It's a deal that's problematic on many levels. But I want to talk about the deal, and I want to talk about the war in general and why we're experiencing what we're experiencing with somebody who I think is one of the most brilliant men walking the planet today. And I'm not the only one who thought so. The Nobel Prize Committee also thought so, because in 2005, Professor Yisrael Aumman was awarded the Nobel Prize for economics for his work on game theory, among others. And he's one of the top mathematicians really in the world, and I can't even begin to understand what he's talking about. I have trouble helping my kids with algebra. But there's a lot to talk about today. So first of all, I want to turn to you, Professor Aumann, and say thank you very much for joining me today on the program.
Okay, morning.
Yeah, morning.
Morning, yes. I don't say good morning, but I say morning.
Yeah, and we don't know whether you're saying morning with a U or without one.
Both.
Exactly. We're in morning.
Okay.
In the morning, we're in morning. Yeah, we were talking before we started recording this about the fact that your family escaped Nazi Germany in August of 1938, which was just 3 months before Kristallnacht.
Yeah.
And I asked you in the beginning, and I kind of wanted to start a discussion there, because I asked you whether, obviously you were a baby, but whether the Jews of Germany had a sense when it actually happened, if you know, that this was going to happen. You had 5 years of Nazi rule previous to Kristallnacht with constraining and eliminating the civil rights of Jews gradually over time.
Well, first of all, I was not a baby. I was 8 years old.
Oh, I'm
okay?
sorry. Viva la différence.
I was 8
You were a young boy.
I was a child, and I'm not particularly, sensitive to the feelings of the society, but of the community. But we had, I do remember very clearly, strong anti-Jewish sentiment among the people of Germany. I was already in school, and we were occasionally beaten up by young Nazi or German hoodlums. Yes, children also. Yes, maybe a little older, maybe 13 or something like that. But also children. And there were signs in the windows of the stores saying, Juden sind hier unerwünscht, which means Jews are not wanted in this store. So we did have, even as a child, I did have a sense of persecution, yes. But I think Kristallnacht was very intense. Yes, it was very was not expected. No, it was not expected. So it's true. In March of 1938, okay. There was the what's it called, the annexation of Austria. I forgot the German word, huh? Anschluss. That's right. And the population was asked to vote after the Anschluss. Was asked to vote whether they approve or disapprove. Okay,
The German population. The German population.
The whole German population was asked the day after the Anschluss to vote in a plebiscite whether they approve or disapprove. And the rabbi of Frankfurt, of our community, voted no, he disapproves. Yes. And he was arrested and put in a concentration camp. Yes. Of course, you may ask, how is it with a secret vote that you know who voted? Well, in Nazi Germany, that's not a question. Okay, they knew. Okay, and they arrested him, and the Frankfurt community was aghast. I think he was released, and he eventually went to the United States, and he survived. But there was very strong anti-Jewish activity. But I wasn't there, and as I say, I was a child. I think that the intensity of Kristallnacht was not expected.
Because we just celebrated we just marked the 85th anniversary. It's always every 5 years. It's a big deal of Kristallnacht on November 8th. And I guess it was sort of notable because in Israel we just had something that was orders of magnitude greater than Kristallnacht, and everybody understood in retrospect that the Holocaust really began with Kristallnacht. And what happened on October 7th was a slaughter of genocidal dimensions. And I'm wondering, why do you think it happened now? What do you think? And I know that they were planning it for 2 years, is what we've learned since October 7th. But what do you think it was that made Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas make a decision, not necessarily on the timing, specifically October 7th, but at this time in Israeli life, in our history, after 75 years of this country? Why do you think they chose now?
Well, I think that in the wake of the Gilad Shalit deal,
in 2011, where we got one hostage for 1,028 terrorists.
Right. They want to get the release of more prisoners. By the way, in the Gilad Shalit deal in 2011, as you say, 1,027 prisoners were released, and among them was the person who ran the October 7th massacre.
Right, Yahya Sinwar.
Sinwar. What's his first name?
Yahya
Sinwar. And they wanted a repeat of that. And I think they really want to wipe out Israel. They really do want to wipe out Israel. And they may succeed. Okay? I hope not. I've devoted my life to Israel, yes. But the way we are acting, yes, the weakness we are showing, yes, is, I think, I say they may succeed not because of their strength, but because of our weakness, yes, our weakness of resolve. That they may succeed. It won't be in my time. I'm convinced of that, but it may be in your time.
No, I mean, I think that we're all sort of feeling this existential angst and fear that we've never really felt before. I mean, perhaps there was some of it in the weeks before the Six-Day War, from the stories that I've heard of this sense of impending dread in Israel and even among world Jewry before June of '67. But I think that there's a sense of existential fear in this country. I don't see it in the people on the streets.
Let me break into what you're saying.
It's fine.
I was there in '67. Okay, I was an adult. I had come to Israel 11 years before, and I was there, and there, and I think there was a feeling not of fear, but it's quite clear that this may be the end of Israel. And that was quite clear to everybody here. So I don't remember terror, or fear, as you say, but a realization that this is coming. And I remember saying to myself, Israel, the Arabs are coming here and they're going to slit your throat and that of your wife and 3 children. Now, you have American papers, okay? You have an American passport. Your wife has a re-entry permit. Get out. Get on a plane while the going is good. Your children all have American passports. And I made a conscious decision. No, I'm going to stay. Okay, come what may, I'm going to stay. I filled up my car with gas. I don't know where I wanted to go, but I wanted to make sure that the tank is full of gas. But it turned out different, yes. But I think fear is not the right word. Resolve is the word, yes.
Well,
and the resolve is the word. And maybe with part of the population, or a good part of the population, today in Israel, also fear is not the word. Resolve is the word.
I agree
but
with
our government,
exactly.
Our government, yes, is not showing that resolve. Okay.
And it's interesting because I agree with you. I'm fearful now after this deal was made more than I was on October 8th.
Yeah.
And I want to, and because there is a sense that, all of us have been walking around almost like zombies since October 7th, as the number of hostages and dead kept rising and rising and rising. And, you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about the hostages and the soldiers now, and you're thinking about them and you're carrying them with you all day long. You go to sleep, you can't sleep because you're thinking about the hostages. And if there was a video that you happen to see of the hostages, like I did a few times, can't sleep all night thinking about them. And that's not, that is how you terrorize a society. But on the other hand, you look at this and you say, okay, Prime Minister Netanyahu told us there are 2 goals in this war: defeating Hamas, destroying Hamas, and recovering our hostages. And the question is there a contradiction between the two? And now the deal seems to indicate that, in fact, there is. But, and just like you said with the Gilad Shalit deal, there's a question here, too. Like, are they stupid? I mean, we know what happened with Gilad Shalit, and I wrote it at the time. I said, we know that this deal is going to lead to dead Jews. And the only thing we don't know is their names. We know Gilad Shalit's name. We don't know the names of the Jews who are going to die because of this deal. And is it really fair to guarantee their death in order to bring him back? And, my answer was no. But here we have a situation where we have children, we have babies that are there,
I think that a tremendous amount of the media coverage, and not only media coverage, but all over, yes. You see on the streets posters, pictures of the kidnapped people, children, elderly people, younger people, okay, men, women. You see all over you, and also abroad, and the kidnapped have sort of taken over, which is fine. Yeah, well, I'll say in a moment whether it's fine. They have sort of become the center of attention in the whole world of this conflict, but most especially in Israel, okay? All over you see pictures and posters and so on and so forth. And that's fine. I mean, I think I feel very strongly for the kidnapped. But I think we did ourselves harm by emphasizing that so much, concentrating on it. We did ourselves harm because we sent a very strong signal to the other side that this is what interests us, okay? This is our main objective. It's not really the destruction of Hamas, okay? It is returning the kidnapped. And returning the kidnapped is very important. But if the returning the kidnapped is going to be at the cost of many more kidnapped and many more dead in the future, then it's up to the government to make that decision. And I think they made the wrong decision. Okay, I think they made the wrong decision because this ceasefire, which is going to last for at least 4 days, maybe longer, yes, and especially that I just want to say that part of it, the
drones,
the clause, yeah, that clause that says that we're not allowed to take pictures for 6 hours a day. And this
was their demand, like that they wouldn't budge from. You know, this was, what does that mean? This is what they value
that means
the most.
that they want to they have some specific plans that they want to rebuild during those 6 days, and also the
6 hours a day.
Also the fuel. The fuel also. Since they demanded the fuel, we should have taken the hint and said, okay, they're not going to get 1 gallon, okay? So that is I think this is, let me make a comparison, which is maybe maybe you won't like the comparison, but in the War of Independence, okay, and that's 75 years ago, okay, in the War of Independence, we succeeded because of the period of ceasefire, okay? Well, not only because, but they helped enormously.
Right.
The periods of ceasefire helped us enormously. And now, unfortunately, tragically, the shoe is on the other foot.
Why can't we use this ceasefire for our benefit? Why won't we use this ceasefire for our benefit? Like, I mean, the thing
we don't need that. We don't need it. They have gotten very badly injured. Yes, they have gotten very badly injured, and they need this to regroup, just like we did in 48, and to rebuild their I don't know exactly what, but obviously they want this very much. So that's exactly, yes, game theory tells us that's exactly what we should not have allowed, okay? That and the fuel, okay?
That's one of the things that to me is most infuriating, enraging, which is how the United States supports all of Hamas's demands. How the United States put massive pressure on Israel first to bring in the food and the medicines and everything like that, this humanitarian corridor, even though it's clear that Hamas controls that area. And by the way, the United States also has been placing massive pressure on Israel not to take over the international border with Egypt and allowing Hamas to maintain control over that border. But why and then the fuel. I mean, this was, and Netanyahu said it very clearly in the press conference, which was so depressing last Saturday night when he said, or the Saturday before that, I can't remember anymore, where he was talking about, no, it was last Saturday night when he was giving these bizarre justifications of the fuel and saying David Satterfield, who's sitting on us literally right here on the jugular, demanding the fuel, and he's not leaving Israel. This is like his job. And he said, because there's going to be a plague. There's going to be an outbreak of whatever in Gaza if they don't have that fuel, and that'll endanger our soldiers in Gaza. Whatever. We got face masks. We learned how to do that with COVID, so this is what they're doing. But this is an American demand that we bowed to, not so much Hamas. And when you analyze this from a game theory perspective, what are the Americans doing here? What is their role here?
I'm not sure it's Biden. I think Biden. I get the impression. I'm not sure, but I get the impression that Biden is with us. Okay, surprisingly, I hadn't thought that before. Okay, but I think Biden personally, I get the impression it's with us. But the State Department has always been full of anti-Israel lists, and not to say anti-Semites, yes, and that is what is it's what happens in the lower echelons of government that is really decisive.
I don't know.
And
that is
what.
But it was Biden who made the demand. Biden is the one who's been demanding.
Okay, maybe you're right. This I'm not sure about. Maybe so he gets pressure from his appointees from the State Department, and he knuckles onto.
So you think it's just rank hostility?
But it doesn't make any difference.
It does, because they're a player in here. They're playing a central role in this. On the one hand, we can't fight without American resupply, and on the other hand, they're conditioning that resupply on bowing to Hamas's demands.
I think we could. Sometimes one has to stand up and say no, and that happens also with. For example, the Palestinian Authority, okay, what's his name, Abbas, okay, the Americans, they are paying salaries to the families of the terrorist prisoners, okay. And of course, that's we object to that strongly, and we pass that objection on to other bodies, including the Americans. And the Americans ask them to stop, really, yes, and they say no, we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. So, but that doesn't stop the American aid to the Palestinian Authority. Okay, so I'm not sure that if we would stand up and say no, we're not going to agree to the gasoline. We're not going to agree to the fuel, we're not going to agree to see. We do manage to say we're not going to agree to a ceasefire. That has helped up to now. Yes, they have asked us for. Biden has asked us for ceasefires again and again. We say no. Okay, up to now. Okay.
So what's wrong with our leadership? I mean, we don't have to go into names. But I mean, here's Netanyahu.
I don't know why. I mean, in the Gilad Shalit exchange, I mean, many people were for that in Israel, by the way. Yes. And
the media was 100%.
I don't know what your position was. I suspect that you were also against it. But I was certainly very vociferously against it, and it didn't help. I mean, we have, I think. Do
you blame the media?
I think Netanyahu is very, very good at diplomacy, okay? He is very good at diplomacy. He is very good at making friends, making relations with other leaders all over the world. He does not have, I think, Ben-Gurion was also good at that. He was also good at diplomacy, okay? But Ben-Gurion knew when to knuckle under and when to say no, yeah. Of course, in Ben-Gurion's times, we had one of the greatest presidents of the United States. He's not known as one of the greatest, but he was, in my opinion, Harry Truman, one of the greatest, okay? Not always recognized as such. So I don't know. But Netanyahu is no Ben-Gurion.
It looked like he was in his last term. I mean, when he was facing Obama, he lectured Obama in the Oval Office. He went to the joint houses of Congress and he spoke out against the Iran nuclear deal. And that was huge in terms of building up Israel's international standing for years after that. And arguably played a role, by the way, in Trump's election as well. He certainly unified the Republican Party against a deal that they weren't unified against before he came. So he has a record of achievement in terms of saying no to the Americans. He said no to Clinton as well. But here, he's not. Here he's not.
I think he missed a big opportunity, by the way, when you're talking about Trump. He missed a big opportunity with Trump's deal of the century by rejecting it, by not immediately taking that opportunity and saying...
He did take it.
He should have, at that moment, he should have annexed many of the areas of Area C and the Jordan Valley, and he did not take the opportunity to do that. And because Trump was suggesting that, I don't know why he didn't do it.
But now we're looking at a situation where I think we both feel like, I think I was thinking, obviously everybody's been thinking about it all the time, but it occurred to me yesterday that what we're experiencing now is the obliteration of the delusion that this isn't a total war. No, in 48, we understood it was a total war. In 67, we believed we knew it was a total war for our annihilation. In 73, I think we had that mindset, certainly. But since 73 of this, we've been informed by a mindset in this country, so 50 years, that this is a limited war, that it's not, and we made up this concept of wars of choice, that the Lebanon War in 82 was a war of choice, that fighting the Palestinian terrorism was a war of choice. And we kept saying that, but what Hamas and the Palestinians in general, who greeted this with such joy, what they did to us on October 7th, communicated very clearly is that, no, this is a total war. We are going after your babies. That's what we're doing. We're going after your babies. And that's a total war. And I think that the resolve that we feel as a people that's not shared by the leadership is because for the past 50 years, our leaders in the military and in the political echelons have been operating under a false assumption that this isn't a total war. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? Is this a total war? Am I right? I mean, is that what the problem is? Aside from sensitivity from media and stuff?
It should be a total war, yeah. Should be. Yeah, but as I say, it's I think I think in a total war you wouldn't be placing that much emphasis on the kidnapped. But let me go to a different angle, and that is, in a total war, also the so-called civilian population, yes, is involved. Okay, we are also part of the total war. We're civilians, yes. Does that mean that we're exempt from? Yeah, we're not exempt. We obviously the people and the who were massacred in the October 7th massacre were not civilians. Were civilians. Were civilians, but they were still massacred. And in fact, they are Israelis. Yes, they are Israelis, and the objectives of Hamas and much of the Palestinian Arab population is on their side. Okay, and they are attacking our. They are part of this. Yes, they are part of this. They consider us a part of it, and we are a part of it. We are, and they are also a part of it. Yes, they are the phrase "innocent civilians." Yes, is a phrase that is not entirely accurate, because it implies that if you're a soldier, you're guilty. Are our soldiers guilty? Yes. What are they guilty of? Yes. It implies if you're a civilian, you're innocent. But if you're a civilian, you're not innocent. If you're a civilian, you are still part of the entity. Okay. We as Israelis are the civilians. We're part of the entity that the Palestinian Arabs are trying to destroy. And the Palestinian so-called civilians, they're part of that entity that's trying to destroy us, okay? Now, you remember Abraham Avinu, the patriarch, started an argument with God, okay? And it's an amazing argument, because it's the only place in the whole Bible where a human being challenges God's justice. Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat. Will the judge of the whole world will not do justice? Yes. And then he asks, and he says, maybe there are 50 just people in Sodom. Maybe there are 50 just people in Sodom. So he says, so God says to him, okay, young man, if there are 50 people, I won't destroy Sodom. So Abraham thinks, and he says, well, maybe there aren't 50, maybe there are 45, okay? So God says, okay, if there are 45, I won't destroy Sodom. So Abraham thinks again, and he says, well, maybe there are 40, okay?
Down to 10.
So God says, okay, I buy it. I won't destroy Sodom if there are 40 just people in it. Tzadikim, okay? So God says, so Abraham says, well, maybe there are 30, okay? So God says, okay, I give you 30 also. For 30, I won't destroy Sodom. There aren't 30, he says. There are not. He doesn't say that, but he implies it, okay? I won't destroy. So Abraham says, maybe there are 20. God says, okay, I won't destroy for 20. And then Abraham says, maybe there are 10. Right. Okay? And God says, okay, for 10 good people, I will not destroy Sodom. And then Abraham is silent. He goes away. That's the end of the argument. 10. Okay? 9, he doesn't ask anymore. He does not ask for 9. Okay. Maybe there are 9. There could be 9 good people in Sodom. 9 out of maybe how many people were sort of 400, 500 years? How many people were there at the time?
We don't know.
9 out of, okay. So maybe one half of 10 out of 500, 2%, okay. Are there 2%? Did you look at the pictures of the Gazan so-called innocent civilians celebrating the massacre as the abducted people were going through Gaza? I don't know about innocent civilians. They are part of that effort. They shout from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, okay? Israel will be destroyed. I don't know about the Palestinian innocent civilians.
I agree with you. And so I don't want to prolong this discussion because I think that that's the key point you just made, but I have to ask you, okay, you are prime minister, or you have control of the government policy, of Netanyahu's brain, of Gantz's brain, whoever is making these decisions, of Herzi Halevi's brain. What is your concept of victory? What does victory look like to Professor Yisrael Aumman?
Well, I don't know. I've said to my friends, I don't know what the... I think victory would be...
You have a magic wand. What is victory?
What is victory? What is victory? Victory is... Actually, I think victory will come in 50 years when we have sort of re-educated the Arabs.
You think they can stay there?
You
think the people who spit on our raped women can stay there?
Excuse me?
You think all of these Palestinians, a random sample of Palestinians, as Douglas Murray said, who just happened to be on the street when they came back with our raped women, and then they spit on them. You think that they can stay in Gaza? You think that that's possible?
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with them. And I think at this point we have to insist that even if we kill the last Hamas terrorist, okay, then even then it will be very difficult. We need to get total access to Gaza. I don't know whether we have to be the government, okay, whether we have to run the country, but we have to have the possibility of going in there whenever we want, just like we have in Judea and Samaria, just like we have in areas A and B of Judea and Samaria. We can go in there whenever we want. We may get killed going in there, okay? But we can go there, and it is recognized that we can go there whenever we want. We have to be able to go into Gaza whenever we want. And the one thing that enabled this catastrophe is the disengagement, what's called the disengagement of 2005, when we uprooted 10,000 Jewish families from the Gaza Strip and left Gaza, so to speak, liberating it. But what they call what we call liberation is what they call an open air prison. I don't know why it's an open air prison. It's a beautiful place. I have a grandson now who is staying in a villa in Gaza. He's a member of an elite fighting unit, okay? And they are now staying in a beautiful villa, a beautiful home of one of the top bank officials in Gaza, or not top, maybe a bank official in Gaza. They were leading good lives. They were leading okay lives, yes. I don't know why they call it an open-air prison, but we have to have the ability to go in there just like we have the ability to go into any place in Judea and Samaria. And the root reason, the root thing that enabled this catastrophe is the expulsion of the Jews from Gaza in 2005. Okay,
So we have to go back.
So
we should go back. If we want to win, victory is going back, isn't it?
Okay, if we can go back, fine. We can reoccupy.
Not fine. It's not a fine. It's not. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm asking: is a requirement for victory for them recognizing that what they did on October 7th was a catastrophic mistake? Will they understand that if we don't?
Well, I think we should, maybe, if anybody's willing to go back there. If any Jew is willing to go back there and not think, well, we're going back now and our government is going to fail us again. And we're going to, the reason for the disengagement, of course, was the troubles that Sharon was having with the judicial system, okay? Maybe justifiably, he was doing hanky-panky with the Greek island business. I don't know the details of that. Okay,
in his sons.
But
they found what to indict him for.
What?
They didn't make up an make up an indictment or a law as they've done with Netanyahu to try to indict him for something, but they actually found stuff that Sharon and his two sons had done, and they were investigating that stuff.
So he was afraid of that, and that's why he did the disengagement, okay? And the Jews, I think, I would not be willing to go into Gaza again because I would be afraid that a future government with a future Justice Department will again operate to throw us out of there. I would not be willing to make my home. Of course, I'm not long for this world, but
120.
But I would not suggest anybody else to do it either. Yes, you can't depend on our government. Our government is unfortunately weak-willed.
Let me ask you one last question. Maybe you have an answer, maybe you don't. Maybe you have an opinion, maybe you don't, and it's fine if you say, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I look at the people of Israel, and especially now after October 7th, but really always, and it's so obvious that we're better than the people that we elect. We're better than the people that we elect. They're not. My jury is still out on Netanyahu. I've got a lot of admiration for him in a lot of different ways, but I don't see a game plan here that takes us where we need to go, and I'm very upset about that. But I'm still not willing to let go of the hope that he's gonna come around and do the right thing. I'm not willing to let go of that yet. But I feel like election after election, the people who end up rising to power are just not worthy of this people. And I keep wondering, what has to happen for us to get leaders who actually are able to lead the people of Israel. I don't know the answer. I don't. So I'm opening it up to you. Do you ever ponder that, or do you think that I'm just whining, or do you think?
I think we're in big trouble. And in the period of the Palestinian Mandate, there was sort of a central drive to make a Jewish state happen, and that sort of fired the imagination. Not only the imagination, but also the will of the people to try to take over leadership, the best people to try to take over leadership positions. And that maybe is lacking nowadays. I think we have a wonderful, let me close this session. We have a wonderful people. We have a people that got together and jumped up and rushed to the front and rushed to and many people were killed, rushing to the area around Gaza on October 7th and October 8th and so on. But even on October 7th, they were killed in the process. And we have a wonderful, we're all together in this now, yes. We're all together, and yes, the leadership we inherited from the pre-war period, from the pre-emergency period. In the 20s and 30s, all the time we had emergency, and the leadership evolved from that. Okay, now the leadership evolved from a period of relative tranquility. Relative, I emphasize the word relative. And you're right, it doesn't have what it takes. But I think if we continue with this emergency, God forbid, yes, and we will get we haven't had an election since then.
I always think about it, especially because I have dogs, and my current generation of dogs. The last one was great. There's one, Gen 2 of Caroline's dogs, not the same. Anyway, but they're fine. And there's the line in the Gemara, right, that says "Bnei Adol kepnei hakelev," because it means the face of the generation is the face of the dog. And anybody who has a dog understands that if they're off leash and they're running in front of you, they get to a corner, they wait to see where you want to go before they turn, or go straight, or go to the other direction, or come back. So, and the idea is that the generation before the Messiah comes is going to be the generation of weak leaders, but strong people, because we're going to push them in the right direction. So maybe that's where we are.
Maybe. Okay, let's hope for the best.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for joining me today, and God willing, we'll have good news.